What is fascism? It seems simple enough of a question. Hell, everyone knows what fascism is. It's that thing you don't like. It's bossy, demanding, restrictive, racist, and oppressive. It could mean so many things, all depending on the accuser's self-defined definition. Fascist has become an abstract slander that seems to imply the person being called a fascist is in some way the oppressor of the accusing party. Therefore, it is easy for opposing ends of the limited modern political spectrum to accuse each other of being fascist. The right will call the liberal left fascists, and the left will call the conservative right fascists. Accordingly, the libertarian deems them both fascist. Meanwhile, all parties and people who toss around the "you're a fascist" accusation couldn't be further from the truth, as there exists no political fascists in the world of modern politics, and no fascist parties in the modern political spectrum. When there is no one to speak up for the fascist philosophy on the public stage, it can be no wonder the term fascist has become merely an abstract psychological tool used for slander. Since history is indeed written by the victors, the ideal of fascism has been reduced to simple totalitarianism. Dictators, fiction and nonfiction, are often, if not always, portrayed as cartoonish, evil, power-hungry lunatics that derive their only pleasures in life from the meaningless mass murder and suffering of innocent civilians. When this is the only representation of fascist hierarchy, it is no wonder there is such a stigma attached to any kind of authoritarian society. With public education, mass media, and pop culture all simplifying and demonizing fascism, most people go through life merely scratching the surface of what it is to be a fascist. We are told we live in the freest part of the world, where our political system allows free-flowing conversation and true exchange of ideas, tolerance, and sometimes even media promotion of ideologies that embrace the extremes of the modern right-left political spectrum, like libertarianism and communism. Libertarianism and communism are presented as proofs of our free political system. But what of fascism? Something that is neither right nor left, but rather the proverbial middle. Where is the tolerance for the fascist ideal? Where is the free-flowing conversation and exchange of ideas? It does not exist. While the individualism of the libertarians may be an extreme extension of the right-wing ideology, it is still essentially an extension of the right. The same can be said for the extreme collectivism of the modern neo-Marxists being an extension of the left. Fascism, on the other hand, is the revolutionary middle. Politics that magnifies neither the right nor left, but is a monolith unto itself, a true third position that uses individualism to promote and enhance collectivism. The fascist philosophy seeks to find a reasonable middle ground in the right-left political spectrum. At the root of the fascist philosophy is the understanding that united we are stronger. Even in man's most primitive form, it was quickly understood that the tribes whose members worked together not only survived but thrived. They grew from small tribes to villages, to towns, to cities, to nations, working together, growing together, and advancing together. The etymology of fascism can be seen in the understanding that the single stick could be easily broken, but the fasci, the bundle of sticks, could not. And from this most basic of foundations, fascism builds its obelisk, understanding people with common goals were a united people, and a united people could achieve the unimaginable. The fascist thought is a living ideal in the sense that every thought, like every person, every animal, every plant, is cosmically intertwined and organic, forever growing and evolving, not sedentary and decaying like the right-left paradigm, that while slightly redefining itself time to time, always ensures a heated divide and deliberate disharmony between the citizens. Our awareness to self and surrounding are forever growing and expanding, as too is the fascist thought of taking what exists and creating the fantastical. A realization of great visions and collective goals fueled by the common desire to understand and prosper during this relatively short time on Earth. Jaded by materialism and extreme individualism, the idea of the common good and the great goal has long since lost its luster with the people, being written off as unattainable, unworthy, or simply unrealistic. Dismissed from the possibility of reality, the common good is now scoffed at by the people that it would enrich the most. And the lack of unified goals leaves mankind running around like chickens with their heads cut off, running to and from work and play, only pausing momentarily to admire and awe the latest upgrade in technology that makes his or her life easier and more complacent. The integral nature of the fascist philosophy serves as the cracks and crevices the climber uses to pull himself towards the light of a new day. Armed with a new perspective of life, the fascist approaches the problems of modernity and existence as wonderful challenges with solvable solutions, not stresses piled one on top the other with no end in sight and always weighing heavy on one's conscience. Fascism does seek fantastical goals, because the strength of a united man is unsurpassed in all living things on this earth. The fascist loves the idea of the united man, but distrusts man by himself. Man can be led astray by himself, but man unified is supported and lifted by his brothers, by the common good, by the unified goals of his society. A common mission towards a greater ideal binds men together stronger than anything created in the world of capital lust and gluttony. When man has no purpose, he becomes a self-destructive wreck, living his one life away in nihilist hedonism. Life is reduced to mere pleasure-seeking, consuming, and measuring one's worth through material accumulation. Living and dying a whole life cycle without ever addressing the questions of why and how. Instead, living in ignorant bliss, servant to those that prey on his lower instincts. And like any good servant, you remain loyal to your masters, or even develop a Stockholm syndrome for them. You even learn to speak their language as you brag about your liberty and your freedom, all the meanwhile being a slave to yourself. And it's not even you. It's the you that they have created with their advertisements, their institutional learning facilities, their means of mass communication. Molding a you at your lowest potential. Not high enough to demand more of life, but not so low enough to not be able to be a functioning and appreciative cog in the wheel. Fascism seeks a you of your highest potential, fit of mind and body, in control of your passions. The high aspirations of a united society are only attainable when the people, both collectively and individually, are of the best quality possible. When life is reduced for the pursuit of capital, men are reduced to mere commodities. In contrast, when life is lived for the pursuit of great goals, men become integral components. Fascism is that philosophy of the great goal, of a united man, and of a desire to ever strive forward and upward together.